The first recorded trade between Canada and Japan was in the late 1800s, right about the time Canada opened its arms to Japanese immigrants. However, we still consider the trade between the two nations fairly recent because Canada started trading more regularly with Japan after World War II due to Japan getting bombed by the Allied forces. In 2000, Canada became North America's largest admin for auto production, causing Canada to become the sixth largest in the world. And in 2012, Canada and Japan announced the EPA, or the Free Trade Agreement. In the late 1800s, Japan mainly imported green tea and silk, things that were not available in Canada. The silk, though, was first brought to New York, where it would be processed before making its way to Canada. So the operation known as value added would happen in the US before crossing the border. Mandarin oranges, on the other hand, gained popularity because parents would put such exotic fruits in their children's Christmas stockings, as it was a novelty at the time. Canada, in return, exported wheat, lumber, coal, and marine products. But after the turn of the century, this trade grew rapidly within the first decade, so much so that it is still remembered as an important part of Canada's trade with Japan.
Canada's trade with Asian countries is very modern. Canada started trading with Japan after World War II in the late 1940s. When Japan's industries were rebuilt after being virtually destroyed by Allied bombing. Japan's economy grew rapidly. Japan's modern factories began to produce high-quality electronic products such as radios, televisions, cameras, and computers. Towards the end of the 20th century, Japan also became known for its automobiles and high-tech equipment. Japan is now one of Canada's top 5 trading partners. Japan is the world's third largest automobile manufacturing company. It's the largest electronic goods industry, and that's evident in the driveways and living rooms of every Canadian home. It all started in the 1980s when North American industries were being affected by Japanese exports. It all started in 1998 when Canada's federal government had given rise to the Japanese to invest in Canada by enacting a series of trade.
In the year 2000, vehicles and auto parts took Japan's #1 export in Canada. Japanese automakers even shipped more than 188,000 vehicles to Canada last year. Japan became one of Canada's largest trading partners. Japan exports vehicles, parts, nuclear machinery, and electrical machinery to Canada, which they own profit from. Toyota and Honda, who already have their business in Toronto, manufacture vehicles using those exports from Japan. The cars that are made are then exported to international countries, so Canada can make a profit from. In the early 2000s, Ontario became the largest auto-producing jurisdiction in North America and became the 6th largest in the world. In 2012, Canada and Japan announced the launch of negotiations towards a comprehensive and high-level economic partnership agreement, EPA. The agreement, known as the Canada-Japan Economic Partnership, seeks to reduce and in some cases eliminate the non-tariff and tariff barriers that limit trade between the two nations. Japan is a significant source for Canada's agriculture and food sectors. It is the largest market for Canadian canola seeds, the second largest market for Canadian malt and Canadian pork, the fourth largest market for Canadian beef, and an important high-value market for Canadian wheat and pulses. Things that were up for trade were goods, services, and investments. Canada's main exports were oilseeds and mineral fuels. The main imports were vehicle and vehicle parts, also electrical and technological equipment. Canada's participation in the EPA will promote the growth and competitiveness of the agriculture sector.